Got two DVD players to show you in this one. One of them was really badly beat up. We won't say much about that until you guys see it. You won't believe it. The other one's a really old one. Everyone thinks old stuff is better, but in DVD players, old is not necessarily better. So I was given a bunch of stuff today. The conditions were that I had to take it all away. So if you want any of it, you gotta take it all. And some pieces are in better shape than others. This one is not in as good a shape, although it's just a basic DVD player. As you can see, it looks like it's sustained a little bit of damage to the back here. And that may make the unit inoperable if that circuit board is broken, because it's right where the jack panel is. So there's a chance that the board is snapped. So before I even plug this thing in, we'll pull the back off it and just see whether there's a chance that this might work. It probably won't, but we'll find out pretty quick here whether this one's going to be, whether we can save this one or whether this one's going to be heading to the bin. I'm going to be going through this equipment that I got over the next couple of videos. You've already seen the desk lamp, the vintage desk lamp. That one worked. I've got a DVD recorder with a remote control. Hopefully it works. Hopefully it's the right remote for it. And a couple of DVD players and a cassette deck and a receiver and a TV, a monitor. I think there's a VCR in there too. So as I say, this was all free, so I'm not going to lose any sleep if it doesn't work. It's just going to get recycled. And this one, as you can see, is going to get recycled because the circuit board is snapped in two. And that's why we opened this up before powering it up. It does have a disc in it. Family Guy Season 5. Somebody was a Family Guy fan. I'm not even going to bother with that. But what I am going to keep out of this one is I'm going to keep the power supply, because it does have one of these MOSFET ICs, which can come in handy. I've repaired stuff, other power supplies and stuff. So this one, we're going to pull the power supply, and the rest of the unit is going to go in the bin. I guess I could technically, maybe I should grab the drive as well, because the pickup is probably okay, although it's highly unlikely I would ever need it, but you never know. It might come in handy. So let's just grab not only the main board or the power supply, but we'll also grab the optical pickup. And then the rest of the unit, unfortunately, this one's going in the bin. So we'll pick another one up on this video, and this will kind of be like a 2-for-1. You'll see something else, the next piece of equipment from the pile. What type of drive does this have in it? Doesn't have any servos or anything. They're all over here. But this is just a conventional. Oh, is this broken too? I think this might be broken too. Let's just see whether we can get this disc out of here. We'll just turn the gear by hand. There we go. Yeah, this is broken too. Well, it's not broken. I guess it's just popped out. But, you know, the belt is probably okay on this. I can probably salvage the belt. Looks like the belt's in good shape. Doesn't look to be slipping or broken. I guess it is. Nope, belt looks to be okay. So, I can keep the belt. Always good to have belts that have not turned to mush, and even that little loading motor might be something worth keeping. So let's just quickly remove that. If I can find my screwdriver, my little modified Sony screwdriver, my repaired Sony screwdriver, it should say. we'll drop out that motor, because you never know when you're going to need a small motor like this. And I'll even keep the screws for it. The problem with salvaging parts like this is you put them away with good intentions, and then when it comes time when you need a motor or a pulley, you can never remember where you did with them. So that's always the concern. Say Family Guy disc, that can go to the dump. The optical pickup, I can take that out of here because it just unplugs, and as it sits right now, it's actually out. It's been removed for me. It's probably no good at this point, but you never know. Same with the flex cable here. If I take out these screws, the optical pickup's already out of this thing. It's broken. The impact ripped it right out, and there's a good chance that it's no good, but we can keep it. We should put the short on here so that the diode doesn't get popped. Just grab a soldering iron here and turn on the power. I'll just short the laser protector right down here before I remove the plug, even though it's already disconnected from the board and it could already be bad. Okay, that's the short on the laser diode to protect it from electrostatic discharge, so now this can be safely stored. And the rest of the stuff I think is just going to go to the dump. I don't think there's any point in keeping anything else. Perhaps the spindle motor. Might want to keep that. Just undo the wires here. If the soldering tip looks different, it's because I changed it. I had a knife one on this before, and I don't know why some people love using knife type solder tips. I absolutely despise them. I can't solder with a knife tip with my life dependent on it. I find them too big. So I can keep this little motor out of here as well, as it comes out quite easily. Never know, a CD player might need a motor, and now I have one. Although the good chance whatever I might need a motor for is going to require a different one, but never hurts to, when you're scrapping something to salvage out any parts that may come in handy at some future date. And the same goes for this motor here. I won't bother with the gears. I don't think I'll need the gears, but I'll certainly keep the motor. And then the rest of this unit will get recycled. There. That's about all I can do on this one. Throw the rest of this thing in the trash heap. Next is another DVD player. This time it's an old Toshiba. This one's an SD1200. Color stream. It says it'll play compact disc digital video, has DTS, digital out. And I don't think I've got a remote. I might have a remote for this. I'll have to look and see, but first things first, let's see whether this one even turns on. And does it play? Does it do anything? So I had to find a power cord for it, as it did not have a power cord with it. But I got a power cord here, a new one. So this should hopefully do the trick. On the back, we've just got a standard composite and component outputs. We'll just connect this up to the composite input on my television. And see if it works. So this first machine powers on. I've got a remote control for it. I don't know if this is the right remote, but it appears to open it. Let's just see if this unit is functional. I'll try a DVD. One of my discs, of course. Disk error. It says please check the disk. So it's entirely possible that this will not play recorded media. We'll try another recorded disc. This one recorded in a standalone DVD recorder and see if I still get the same error. And if I get the same error, then it will be off to get a pre-recorded disc and see whether that will read. Okay, so this one reads. Interesting. Will play. And this disc plays no problem. So why would it not read my other disc? The only difference between the two discs is this one was recorded on a standalone DVD recorder. This one was recorded actually on a Panasonic DMR E20. This other disc was burned in my computer. And this one here is probably recorded on a Toshiba DVD recorder. So that's interesting. It won't play the disc that was made on my computer, which is very strange. Will it play another disc that was recorded? This one was recorded on a Toshiba DVD recorder. That's another video. This was shot on an old Beta SL2000. That's what that was shot on. So that's interesting that that disc will play, as will the one recorded on the DMR E20, yet the one from my computer software doesn't play at all. Disk error. Interesting. I think that's just a limitation of this player, but we know that it works, so that's good. Needs some cleaning up, but this is a machine that I could probably get $20 for. We'll pop it apart and see if we can see why it's not reading that disc. It may just be a compatibility problem. So there's a couple of screws to hold this one together. Let's get the top off and take a look inside this one. Well, the mechanism looks like it could use some lubrication. I see a lot of rust down in here. Looks like rust. Look on the rail there. So I think we'll need to service this unit just to make it reliable. Otherwise it's likely not going to play properly. So we'll pull the deck out so that I can clean it, unplug, and remove the screws. And that way I should be able to open up the mechanism. And maybe while we've got it apart, I can figure out why it's not reading that other disc. Like maybe the pickup is a little dirty. Don't know. This one's glued down with tape to the bottom. Good thing I didn't reef on that, or I would have ripped that ribbon cable right in two. But we'll just unplug it from there. We'll leave it plugged in over here. All right, got the mechanism out. I should have probably put the short jumper in before I disconnected it, but oh well, I didn't. This looks like it might be just a single laser as opposed to a dual wavelength laser, as there's only one set of short terminals on there for shorting out the optical pickup, the laser diode. Normally there's two optical pickups, one for infrared and one for red. This is an early DVD player, so it probably will not play CDRs. It should play regular audio CDs, but it won't play a CDR disc because it only has a red laser. But I just want to put some lubricant on the rail here just to prevent it from sticking. And then we'll maybe try cleaning off that lens a bit. See, the wavelength on this one's 650 nanometers. It's a single wavelength. Visible laser radiation when open. So in other words, when I play an audio CD, it will play it with a red laser. And it will not play, guaranteed, will not play CDR material. Because the red laser will pass right through the optical dye. And that might be why. Are they the same brand of discs? Yeah, they're all verbatim, so that's not going to make a difference. It may be maybe one's burned a little bit darker than the others. I don't know. Looking at the three discs, they all look about the same. This is the disc that wouldn't read. Said it was not compatible, but these other two discs played fine, which is kind of odd. But let's lubricate the mechanism, and then I'll see whether I can somehow get this to play. I don't think it will. I think it's just a compatibility problem with the disc and the software that was used to burn the disc. Just cleaning the objective lens. I'm going to put some super lube onto the slide rail. This is synthetic grease with PTFE. We'll put some on the other rail as well. So you don't need much of this stuff. Too much is worse than not enough because it'll attract dirt. I hear a ticking sound there, which is very likely a crack in the gear. So let's just open this up and see whether there is a crack in one of the gears. I bet you there's a crack in a gear, and that probably would make this player not function properly. We'll remove the top. I can find my little screwdriver wherever I did with it. just from the way that that's ticking when I move the pickup back and forth, almost sounds like a broken tooth on a gear or some dirt or debris or something in one of the gears. So we'll just release the top so that I can see the mechanism. Oh yes, there's definitely a crack, probably in this little gear here. Let's get a close up. I can feel it as I turn it. I can feel it like a tick, 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 either a crack or a grain of sand, but there's something that's sticking. Oh, it's a crack. It's a crack in the gear. See this? Right down here, there's a crack in this gear. And that's probably why this unit was taken out of service. You see the crack? So what happens is when it's playing, that causes it to stick. And when the motor sticks, it'll continue to play and start to build up a tracking error, and the voltage will crank up on the motor, and then eventually it'll shoot past it, and then it'll skip. And that's typically what happens on these. And that, you can see how loose that is. But I might have a gear, because you see I just wrecked in the same video, the earlier one, that other machine that I wrecked had a motor on it. I wonder if the motor has the same size of gear. My luck, it won't be. It'll be a different size gear, guaranteed. But it's worth a shot to see whether I have a gear that I can put on there. It just so happens that this gear looks to be the same mesh. Let's pop this other one off and see if this one will fit. And it fits. And now it turns nice and smooth.
Excuse me, this is yours, sir?
Not mine.
Oh, okay.
That would be the DoorDash guy bringing my brain dead son dinner, because my brain dead son likes supporting the DoorDash community and paying, $30 to have a Big Mac delivered. And he does this just about every day. So that is nice and smooth now. That should solve the problem. Maybe that'll solve the problem with it not reading my other disk. That might have been why it wasn't reading. It wasn't able to search. Well, let's just try it and see. We'll reset the loading mechanism. $19.99. That's when this one was from. Okay, top cover goes back on, just like that. That's going to be the fastest usage of parts I've ever had. Get one machine that's junk and grab some parts out of it, and the very next machine that I'm working on just happens to need the same part that was out of the previous wreck. I'll pop the multi-connect back on. Good thing the air's not dry. No static electricity this time of the year. Otherwise, I'd be running a real risk of blowing up that optical pickup if I haven't already. Because that's always a risk. They're so static sensitive. Okay, that's in place. Like, of all the devices that you would have in a consumer device, the laser diode used in CD players and DVD players is probably the most susceptible to static discharge of any consumer electronic device. When you bought a new pickup, they were always packed in such a way. They had the diode was shorted, and then they were in an anti-static box, and that anti-static box was in an anti-static bag. They had all kinds of warnings like do not remove the shorting jumper until you've connected all the cables. Okay, plug this thing back in and we'll see whether I've accomplished anything. It says, welcome to Toshiba. I'll try the DMR E20 recorded disc first that we know plays. Detects it as a DVD immediately and plays immediately. Okay, next we'll try the disc that did not read before and see whether we've accomplished anything by changing that cracked gear. Or is it still going to read as a bad disc? It's probably still going to say disk error. Yeah, it's still saying disk error. So obviously it's a fault with the software. The software in here is not capable of reading the disk that was done by my software that created that disk, but it can read disks that were recorded on a standalone recorder, no problem. And I bet if I were to author that same disk and record it using different software and author it with different software, it probably would play. We're going to play an audio CD and then I'll try playing a CDR, even though I know that it won't play a CDR because of the wavelength. But if we put an audio CD in, it will play that immediately, which it is playing now. And I can indeed see the red laser. If I tilt the player, you should see it too. You should see the red laser under there. See the red laser? If I shield this, let me just kill that sound. But there's a red laser. You can see it. If I turn out some of the lights in here, you'll probably see it even better. But there is a red laser there. You can see the spot. There. Red laser beam playing. It's almost kind of cool. It's almost would always be worth taking this cover plate off just so you could watch the thing play a disc. That's how they played on the original DVD players. If I select the next track, where's my button on here? See, moves to the next track. Start at the middle. Oh, went back to the same track. Let's restart it from the beginning. There we go, track 1. You can see the difference in the disc speed. As we move to the outside of the disc, you can see the disc slowing down. Now because this is a red laser, it's not going to read a CDR. At least it shouldn't. Unless these newer CDRs are compatible. I seriously doubt it. It'll probably say no disc. Yeah, see? It's not going to read it. It doesn't know what to do. If we tip the unit up so you can see what's going on, it cannot focus. And you can see, look at it trying to focus. And that's going to give up and say, sorry, we can't play this disc. Please check the disc. Try it again. You see? Now the reason this doesn't work is because the dye layer used on CDR was sensitive to infrared light. It was opaque to infrared light, so when the writing laser burned holes in the dye to allow the reflective laser to or the reflective layer to reflect the disc back, where there was no holes burned, the dye was opaque to the infrared wavelength, but it's not opaque to the red laser because the red is a smaller wavelength, so the waves are smaller. So on your regular infrared, you've got a relatively large wavelength, and on the red you've got a much smaller wavelength. The red passes right through the dye layer and gets reflected by the reflection layer. But since there is no contrast, there's no detection of focus, so the system just hunts, and that's why you saw the spot getting larger and smaller as the lens was hunting, trying to lock on the focus, which it'll never do. This is first generation. So in second generations, they put in a dual laser. So there's actually two laser diodes. There's one that is used for CDs, and there's one used for DVD. Blu-ray players actually have three lasers. They have one for Blu-ray discs, they have another red laser for the regular DVD, and then they have an infrared laser that's used for CD media. We want to get a better look. If I break this cover off, now we can see the laser, because this is what was there to shield your eyes from it, which we don't care about eyes. Everybody's got two of them, right? So there's the laser, right? So we put in a regular DVD, and incidentally, you'll see it through the disc when the disc is spinning. So it spins up, reads the disc. Right now the pickup is right in at the table of contents, but as it moves out you will see it shining through the disc. You can see it there, it's just bright in here, but the disc, you can see the spot there. So that's the laser actually reading the disc. As I move out to other chapters, you'll see the laser move. If I go back to that CDR and attempt to play that, you'll see what's happening. It's trying, but it can't read anything. And now it's going to say, sorry Charlie, I can't read that disc. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, you've just opened this optical pickup up to getting dust on it. Well, if you think that little cover that's open on the sides is going to keep any more dust off it than the top cover, then I have a bridge to sell you. Completely unnecessary. Besides the fact that I doubt that this thing's ever going to get sold. This is probably going to get put into storage and stay there forever, because it's such an old DVD player. I doubt that anybody would actually want one, but if someone does, I will certainly make it available cheap. But with its limitations, not being able to play CDR media, for example, that's going to be a tough sell. Anyway, that's the end of this one. I think we'll end the video here, and we'll make another video for the next device. Thanks for watching.